So a few years ago, I stumbled upon an article from the 1974 February issue of the Ag Ed magazine. Then editor Martin B. McMillan questioned the position description of ag teachers. One clip especially spoke to me. It said, "Teacher educators and supervisors are reluctant to speak out on behalf of the improvement of the position of the teacher. They are more concerned with improving the teacher so he can presumably do everything regardless of conditions." So here, McMullen implored his readers to critically address the position description and demands of ag teachers as the source of the ag teacher shortage problem. So despite his call to reduce the workload of ag teachers, the position description has only expanded since 1974. What's also clear from existing research is that ag teachers encounter tensions as they navigate their work and professional expectations. Yet, without further exploration into how ag teachers interact with the SBAE system and its challenges, we're unable to make definitive recommendations for change at the systems level, or the position description, as McMillan put it. So for this research, we explored how ag teachers reconcile the competing demands of the profession. We actually drew from Wenger Trainer and Wenger Trainer's landscapes of practice as a theoretical framework, a learning theory that situates learning in the context of our lived experiences, where learning is a component of our human nature, and individuals construct identities as they participate in multiple communities of practice. This theory postulates identity combines multiple forms of membership in different communities of practice, or a nexus of multi-membership. This process requires reconciliation, which is challenging and often problematic identity work. As we acknowledge ag teachers are engaged in multiple communities of practice, each with different expectations and regimes of competence, there may be many circumstances in which reconciliation is required. So given these theoretical concepts, landscapes of practice offered a way of thinking that acknowledges the difficult work professionals undertake in navigating the multiple communities of practice and the boundaries between them. So we utilize a hermeneutic phenomenological approach rooted in personal knowledge and subjectivity of the participants, and focused on their perspectives and interpretations of their own lived experiences. We engaged in in-depth, semi-structured interviews with 12 ag teachers at various career stages, from Oklahoma, Oregon, North Carolina, Washington, Idaho, California, and Utah. We use Linseth and Norberg's method for interpreting hermeneutic interview text, Emerson and colleagues' method for specific coding and memoing guidelines. We drew from Van Manen's conceptualization of theme and phenomenological research, and used Lincoln and Guba's criteria for transferability, credibility, and dependability to ensure a rigorous scientific study. Here's what we found. As ag teachers navigate the SBAE landscape, they reconcile the competing demands and expectations while striving to be good, successful, or competent. Participants discuss reconciling as adjusting, rearranging, and appeasing, specifically in relation to powerful individuals and dynamics in the SBAE landscape. Adjusting. Adjusting reconciles one's power against others' power. Participants discussed this by moving things around, retaining some of their own agency. This resembled adjusting expectations and putting things on the back burner. Participants recognized the inability to do everything all the time. To reconcile, they prioritized. These teachers also built conceptualization of success equated to winning awards. However, many of them wanted to be more competitive. To reconcile, they adjusted expectations, lowered standards, and tried to convince themselves winning and competition did not align with their student or community needs. Rearranging. Rearranging reconciles one's power with others' power, where it be individual, institutional, or otherwise, as a compromised retention of power for both parties. Participants endeavored to create boundaries, leverage responsibilities, and kill two birds with one stone, and delegate responsibilities. They often mold their families to their job, bring work home instead of staying at school, bringing family to work-related activities, or choosing work over family. Appeasing. Appeasing reconciles one's power for others' power, yielding agency to the powers in place. For example, appeasing those in power or leaving the school or the profession. Participants were engaged but not aligned, and simply checked boxes or followed rules to appease those in power. Appeasement acknowledges the political nature of teaching and SBAE. Teachers must play the game to keep their jobs, maintain student numbers, and receive financial and material support. Participants discuss making people happy as necessary for survival, especially in regards to groups who have leverage over them. Any discussion of power warrants a discussion of privilege. 9 participants shared their knowledge about the love of staying busy or just pushing through the work, or identified excessive work as something natural. Adjusting, rearranging, and appeasing power all imply a recognition of power existing within the current paradigm and social landscape. However, if this power remains unacknowledged, and teachers reconcile the competing demands to situate themselves as good, they may not see a need for reconciliation. A privilege exists in maintaining the status quo for the love of the game. While some excel at meeting these conceptions of power, those who engage with reconciliations to power must constantly question the norms they establish for the profession and the idealization of exceptional as normal. Perhaps it's time to heed McMillion's call and acknowledge this job may simply be too much for one person.